eating is technically boring if you look at, just food on a plate.
It's just sustenance.
Yeah, you're not allowed anywhere near it, so that kind of keeps it a little bit cleaner.
Fueled and tasty.
I'm meditating! Can't you see I'm Zen?
Yo, what's going on, guys? Rhys here from the More Than Lifting podcast. More Than Lifting, well, I don't know, it's something like that. And I'm here with my good friend and fellow co-host, Christopher Thatcher. Do you want to say hi, mate?
Hello.
Chris is some kind of training genius, currently residing in Spain, still on holiday. And it's actually, we've got a bit of Spain over here, mate, to be honest with you. It's quite nice. It's actually sunny today, nice clear skies, it's been pretty warm. So happy
Lovely
days.
Stuff.
I hope when you come back, it just goes downhill.
Oh, that's very nice, isn't it? I thought we were friends.
Well, we kind of are, but I'm just bitter about you being away somewhere nice and I'm stuck here. Anyway,
if it's any consolation, I'm stuck indoors most of the time working. So, I get to go out for a couple of hours a day and that's about it. So I can't really complain. I'm very, very blessed. But at the moment I'm in an apartment looking out at the sunshine rather than being in it.
Oh, that does suck. Well, I'm in the same position then, so cool beans. Anyway, we're talking about bodyweight training, calisthenics, gymnastics, skill training, other things, sometimes a bit of clean and snatch work. Today we're actually talking about meditation and visualization, how to use it for your training and how it can improve the results that you get. It's quite a hefty claim, I'm sure. But it's quite a common thing used now in kind of with professional athletes and stuff anyway. Visualization, meditation's all encouraged, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it has been, visualization particularly has been for a long time, but you still there?
Yeah.
Okay, sorry, I thought the signal just died. I'll start again. Yeah, I mean, as far as professional sports go, visualization has been used for a long time. It's been something that's proven to work fantastically well for a variety of different pursuits, trying to actually picture yourself achieving what you want to achieve, or, really kind of creating a strong mental connection to something that you're about to do or you're actually working through in that present moment. So visualization has been there for some time. I mean, let's be honest, mindfulness and meditation has been around for thousands of years, just not as prevalent in the West as it now is. And obviously, like with all things, people are jumping over it and trying to hack it, and how can you what's the minimum viable dose of meditation to get all of the benefits? And it's the classic Western approach of how can I get as much from it as I possibly can by doing as little of it as is possible. Same as with exercise, same as with healthy eating. We're doing the same thing with mindfulness and meditation as well. So I think we have to be, excuse the almost pun, mindful about the fact that when we look at these things, we have to try and do them right, not just do them quickly.
Yeah, definitely. And that's really hard. I really struggle with that, especially if I haven't done any meditation in a while. I'll sit down, I'll try and it just won't happen. I'll be itching, do you know what I mean? I'll be, you can't help but move, and I'm fidgety. I'm like blinking even though my eyes are closed or partially closed. I'm like moving my eyes around everywhere. So distracting. Just being still is so difficult sometimes, especially if you're not kind of conditioned to doing it as well. So no time like the present, and it is, as everything, a progressive and evolving process.
Yeah, and it's also a subjective one as well. So much like how you eat and how you move, this now third part of the Trinity in terms of how to manage your mind, how to improve your mental health, in terms of how to improve your cognitive function and your ability to focus and, really harness your attention to a greater level. It's, again, something that's going to, in terms of conditioning that and training for that, it's going to be something that's highly subjective to you as an individual. It's going to be something that is going to work better at one end of the day versus another. It's going to be something that maybe you do need to do for less in terms of duration, or even less in terms of frequency than the next person. I don't tell everyone to exercise every single day because it's not right for them. Equally, some people I might suggest they do something every day because they need the momentum and the consistency to keep with the habit. So again, it's really about looking at yourself, knowing yourself at that deepest possible level, and using it as an exploration process and seeing it as a journey. It's not something you have to say, okay, well, so-and-so told me I have to meditate at 5 a.m. in the morning for 15 minutes and I have to just focus on my breath. That that's fine. I mean, it's a start point. It's something to trial. If it works for you, great. If it doesn't, don't immediately assume that meditation and mindfulness in general isn't for you. Just assume that maybe there's another version of it, a variation, or even a more aggressive step somewhere even further back from that point that you need to be starting from.
What I try and do, especially what I've been doing recently, because this year I haven't been as into like my meditation as I was previously. I've been a bit lazy with it. So what I've been doing is thinking of it as like an element of my training specifically. So this is how I got into doing rehab work and prehab stuff just daily, and just building it into my process, just thinking it as another bit of training, because you can't do workouts all the time, but sometimes you're kind of in the mood to do something, and you know, somehow you've just kind of hyped yourself up because you've learned some new skills or whatever, but you've just been down the gym or you've just come back from your club or what, and like you're fucked. You can't do anything. So that's I've built kind of rehab prehab work in that way, like with my foam roller, acupressure and stuff like that. And I think approaching meditation in the same way is a great way to encourage you to do it and help you almost stay accountable, because it forms like an element of your workouts as well.
Yeah, exactly. It just becomes part of a habitual process. You know, for me personally, I like to do everything. I like to top load the day. I like to get as much done in the morning so that there's no way of being distracted or pulled away from it later in the day if I can. I mean, sometimes depending on what's happening work-wise, or you know, if I've got any other personal commitments I need to adhere to, then I may train and meditate in the afternoon. But as a rule, if I can, I like to try and do all of my breathing, meditation, movement work first thing in the morning, you know, or as early in the day as I possibly can. So by, you know, the time, say 9-10 o'clock rolls around, I've done some form of exercise, I've done my meditation, I've done some journaling. I've probably at this point had at least one, maybe even two meals that are, you know, going to nourish me. I've taken whatever supplements I need to do. I've fully hydrated. So I've done all these kind of, while I enjoy them, are ultimately tasks and things to be fulfilled, because I know they're going to nourish me in some way. They're going to create the best state for my brain to be operating in, because my body's in a great place right now, and I'm oxygenated and I'm hydrated and I'm fueled and everything's on point. So therefore, from that point, exactly, from that point on, I'm then not only really super efficient, productive, and very focused on what I need to do, which is, you know, ultimately my work. And then towards the back end of the day, you know, taking time to be with loved ones, family, friends, partners, whatever, then I'm fully primed at that point, and there's nothing that's going to distract me from having to do those things later in the day if I've pushed them back for whatever reason. So I've created the optimal conditions, not just to be the best in my body and my mind, but to be the best in my work as well, and also in my personal life. So that's what works really, really well for me. And it also means that it becomes almost, you know, some people may frown on this, but it becomes for me like a bit of a tick box process. It's here's my list of things that I want to get done. I genuinely enjoy all of them, and I see the benefit of them. Some days are tougher than others. You know, my body might not be responding quite as I want it to in terms of exercise. I may want to just go crazy and nail a packet of chocolate donuts, and I just might be finding it a little bit irritable to sit still because I've got a lot on my mind. I've got things I want to get on with, and it just takes a little bit of time to fully engage in terms of my meditation. So yeah, days, weeks, months, everything changes consistently, and I may have to adapt that process. But right now, through the process of exploration, I'm now able to accept what works best for me and stick with that until such a time as it needs to change for whether it's a physical, mental, emotional, or other commitment-based reason.
Awesome. Bloody hell, that's Chris's entire schedule.
Yeah, I just gave you my life there in a nutshell.
Boom. He has a tick box to say hi to his missus.
I had to remind myself, yeah. No, but as you said, it's about creating a habitual process. It's about making part of a routine that you maybe already have, which I think is a really powerful point. You know, so if you attach it onto something, as in, you know, you always have breakfast, so you do meditation before or after breakfast. That just becomes part of an extended part of that routine, or it becomes part of your preparation, or even cool down and wind down from exercise. Great.
Yeah, like a habit
if that works for you. Yeah, great way of putting it. Habit stacking. You know, you're building in something you know is going to be good for you and you want to implement into your life around things that you already have a pretty strict habitual process around, and it's putting all these good things in together. So it just becomes one amongst many different things rather than this one big, scary, standout thing in isolation that you almost fear doing because it just then has this gravitas and weight around it that it doesn't need to have. It just needs to be something simple that you integrate in at your pace when you're ready for it, and then just see it through and let it evolve.
Yeah. That's exactly what I've been trying to do. So when I find best to do my meditation is because in the morning I get up and I want to get on with stuff, and I end up doing little bits, and then I kind of psych myself up to do loads of work for the site usually. So that's what my daily routine's kind of been like. So where I've been pulling in meditation has been later after doing my acupressure. And that's just because I find my acupressure sets me up for my meditation. It like relaxes all my back and all my muscles. It helps me kind of just... It sounds silly, but it's almost like all of my thoughts and all my little things that are buzzing around my head are like trapped in my back, and that like doing the acupressure is like kneading them out of my back, and then suddenly they're kind of out of my mind as well. So I'm in a really good state where my head's not buzzing. I can just sit down and I can use that time when my breathing's nice and relaxed. I'm very present at that time. And it's a really good time for me to do meditation. And so, that's where I've been fitting in. And it's been giving me huge results in terms of how good I am at meditation.
But that's great, though, because you can expand on that a little bit or explain that rather in more detail, insofar as saying that you've created the conditions by which to thrive in your meditation. So you've created the space, the environment, you found a time, a situation where it really, really works for you. Yeah. So you can take that in every sense of the phrase, in terms of saying, well, whatever time of day it is, wherever it is, ideally it's going to be somewhere where you can be alone and in silence, and you can create an environment. If you're just trying to, look, I've done meditation on the train, I've done it on the bus, I've done it, standing in the park, with other people around.
I used to do it on the train.
It's one of these things. It's great, isn't it? You can take it with you wherever you go. That's the fantastic thing about it. You can just cut it off, and especially
handstands.
Yeah, exactly. And it's awesome because you can, one of the most stressful times of day I find for me personally, or if I don't really have to do it now, to be perfectly honest, but if I have to go into London, say, or if I have to commute at the normal times, the rush hour times, obviously you're crammed onto a train or a tube, a bus, or even sat in traffic, and you just feel so overwhelmed and stressed, particularly at the start of the day. It's awful. Like, you might have been to the gym, you may have done things that are going to calm you down, you may have had an actually pretty good morning, but all of a sudden your stress levels, your cortisol levels are all elevating again in response to this kind of crazy situation you've now found yourself in that doesn't feel very comfortable. And, particularly on the train, if you're just sitting there with your headphones in, you can find I like some different types of Japanese music, sometimes binaural beats, things that are just a nice, steady, calming tone. And then just, focus on the breath, just bring yourself into the body and just enjoy that. And it's not just de-stressing because you're meditating, it's also de-stressing because you then become very unaware of what's going on around you. Like, you're aware to a certain extent, but you're not bothered by it, you're not affected by it. You can be standing there amongst a load of other people, but just not be affected in a negative sense, which in itself is worth doing altogether, regardless of the longer term benefits that you're going to get from the meditation itself. So it can be done anywhere, and you can create whatever space you want within your own mind to actually allow that to happen and allow you to flourish in that practice.
Yeah, and headphones help. Headphones help so much when you're in crowded places and people are making noise and stuff and intruding on your meditation time. Inconsiderate Indeed. Bastards.
Yeah, if only they knew.
I'm trying to get to work and I'm trying to meditate. So shut up.
Can you imagine that? Just losing it against someone on the train. I'm meditating.
Can't you see?
Can't you see? Can't you see I'm Zen?
Can't you see I'm Zen? Oh my god. Yeah.
Brilliant.
So definitely try it on the tube.
Yeah, but not in your car, because that could lead to a whole host of other problems in your life.
Yeah, don't meditate whilst driving. It's like drink driving with even less awareness.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I don't know if you just compared meditation to drink driving, but
I don't know, maybe it was
I'm sure
bad.
there's...
Meditation.
I'm sure there's a good...
So I'll just throw it out there.
Yeah, maybe. So in terms of your meditation, do you prefer to do it standing, seated, lotus position? What do you do?
I used to do a lot of standing meditation, but I've been doing it seated, and that's just because I've been laying on the floor, so I'll just sit up and then ta-da. And that's the only reason, really.
By default rather than choice, yeah.
Yeah, well, it just seems natural, so that's just how it happens. Yeah, like I say, I used to do loads, but then when I was doing it standing, I was doing more like qigong type energy work, like the tree and the dragon and like different energy breathing stuff, which sounds really weird, and I guess it kind of is, but it's also pretty cool. So.
Sure.
But now, yeah, I'm just doing it sitting down, and I what I try and do is I try and incorporate like visualization into it, rather than spending my time just trying to, because I have loads of little meditation techniques that I've tried over the years. I've been doing it for bloody ages, that on and off. And originally, obviously, you're just trying to get everything out of your head, and what most people recommend is focusing on your breath, which is great. But that's not what I learned when I started. I learned to do it slightly differently, and it's really complicated, so I'm not going to go into it. It is overly complicated, but it's really effective, and it's really good for like training that control. And I think it has much better benefits long term and just as a discipline for meditation rather than just focusing on your breathing, although that's a great entry level. So what I do is clear out my head now, and then I start visualizing stuff. So exercises really for gymnastics, because that's kind of where my head's at right now, and so that's how it relates to my training. And so I'll visualize like what I've done at gymnastics, or what I've been working on, or what I want to do, or I like imagine different variations of routines and stuff, and just it's pretty obsessive, I guess. But
no, you don't say.
Yeah, I know. I just, now that I actually say it aloud, I think, fucking hell, maybe I am crazy. But yeah, but it's helped me a lot. I think it helps me a lot anyway. It makes me feel better about it.
Yeah, and I mean, when you say you do a more complex version of it, I'm just purely curious. Do you mean it's like transcendental? Is it energy center focused? Is it just more sort of general mindfulness? I'm very intrigued. You don't have to go into it in detail. I'm just curious to know as to roughly how you meditate.
So I think in like a couple of different forms. Like you've got your sounds thoughts, you've got your visual thoughts, and they're like. And then you've got like this inner voice, which doesn't really have a sound, but it's almost like you're reading a thought, like a stream of consciousness to yourself in your head. That's like your inner dialogue. And so what I'm doing is I'm separating each of these things and trying to catch myself at doing any one of those things, and then shift it with various different, like shift it out of focus. So with visual stuff, I like still shot it like a photo, and what I do is I frame it like a what are they called, like a Polaroid camera picture. So it's got a nice big white border, and I use that to like freeze that thought pattern and then slide it out of sight. And I do the same with sounds and my inner dialogue. And so that's how I kind of get there. And what I do is when I get to that level, I kind of visualize myself going into a deeper layer of consciousness, and then like that previous layer of thought that I've just cleared out my head then doesn't return to me. So I almost I get below, I go deeper than that, and then these other thoughts, like deeper thought patterns and stuff, start cropping into my head, different inner dialogues and different. I'm slowly getting lower and more kind of knelt up as I'm talking to you while I'm doing this. But then so I clear that layer out, and then I go deeper again. I clear that layer out, and it takes about 5 minutes to get settled all together. Because at each layer you have your own challenges with different thoughts coming in and different sounds and stuff. But so I don't really know what I would call it, but that's a brief description of it to you. And I get to like the bottom level, and it's like I almost can't hear anything when I'm sitting there. I'm that deep and that focused in this kind of meditative state. It's
nice.
It's pretty crazy. Fucking hell! I've put that into words a couple of times, but I haven't thought about it recently. It's pretty heavy shit.
Yeah, and it's well, it is pretty heavy shit. It is really powerful stuff when you actually go into it. And you know, I've had
there's lots of stuff going on.
Well, yeah, definitely. I've had some experiences where it's almost when they talk about this, you know, the human mind or the human spirit's potential to cross dimensions, and you get into these things sometimes, and you know, obviously they talk a lot about DHT and you know that kind of
DMT,
real spiritual connection. Sorry,
DMT. Do you mean?
What did I say?
DHT.
No, sorry.
Don't smoke
God,
that
I'm getting confused between things. No, definitely don't. No, sorry, DMT. And yeah, like the effect that obviously can have on your mind and your perceptions and, you know, how you see things. And you know, I've had some experiences where, you know, you're just meditating and all of a sudden you start, you know, you start to see things and you start to feel things and you feel this wonderful sense of detachment from your body and everything around you, and you're everywhere but you're nowhere at the same time. And I know that sounds really trippy and zen, but you know, you're so present in what you're actually doing that nothing seems that real anymore, whether it's your thoughts, whether it's your actual body, you know, this sense of self that we carry with us all the time. And I'm definitely not going to pretend to be an expert in that. I read a lot about that, and I believe I know a lot about that, the attachment to self, you know, how we are a multitude of different personalities and voices and characters and all these things that we've created within ourselves, and this perception of who we are being something that isn't really that real at all. And I don't want to go off on that tangent too much. Again, as I said, I'm not an expert, but there's some wonderful power in these things, even with very little experience of doing it. And I guess there are some dangers to that. You know, there could be some harmful elements to it. I've not experienced any myself, but you know, when you go really deep into these things, and as you say, you're really going deeper and deeper into yourself, clearing through things, working through things to the point that you're just, nothing seems that problematic, that real. You just have no attachment to anything whatsoever, good, bad. There's just nothing. And that sounds really, really scary, but at the same time, it's fantastically empowering as well. You know, there's something really cleansing and, I don't know, just amazing about that process. So, yeah, whatever works for you, mate, then stick with it, because it sounds like it's clearly doing its job. Yeah,
well, there is loads of stuff going on, but ultimately you're just clearing out your mind, that's the kind of target, I guess, or is to keep it clear, isn't it? Because it's you know, there's always stuff you're thinking about, and although you can get into really almost trances of complete clarity because you just can't. Sometimes if I've accidentally meditated for ages, I'll not ages, I mean 15-20 minutes, but that is a long time still. Then you can come out and you can be thoughtless for a good 5-10 minutes afterwards, even if you're sitting there trying to think that it's just your inner dialogue comes back and you're just thinking one voice, and it's crazy. I've got when I used to be really keen on it a year, 2 years ago, and I've got bits in my journal where I've written about stream of consciousness after those sessions, and some of it's that's times you have such immense clarity, you come up with crazy stuff, resolutions to problems you have, mostly social in a way, someone's been pissing you off or whatever, and you're you just have this whole new fresh approach to it because you've kind of separated yourself from all of everything that you are in that way. It's really hard to kind of put it all into words, isn't it, Chris, meditation?
Oh, yeah, of course it
I'm
is. It's such a
struggling,
vast
like.
area. Well, and again, as we said before, it's very subjective. So one person's experience may be very different to the next. And,
Yeah.
obviously there's going to be some consistency. Like, I can explain to you what doing a handstand feels like, and you'll pretty much understand what I'm talking about. The sensation is, for the most part, very similar. But at the same time, there are slight nuances that I'm experiencing because of my body, because of my experience, because of my ability, whatnot, all these different things.
Different forms of attention, I guess, isn't it?
Yeah, when you're discussing it, when you're trying to put it into words, you're still always generalizing to some extent, because you can never truly and very deeply explain the pure subjective nature of an experience. It's a felt sense. It's not something you can verbalize necessarily, but it's something that some level, at some point, we can all have that experience of, to a similar extent, just not the exact experience that you had yourself.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's, just having this conversation about meditation and mindfulness reminds me just how powerful and necessary it actually is. It's not I'll be honest, it's not something I actually do every single day. I was having a good conversation with someone about this a couple of days ago. For me, at this point where I'm currently at, it's really interesting that I'm finding it super beneficial to exercise every day, which is not something I would always do. I'm finding the consistency and the momentum of that works really, really well for me. But meditation is something I do more every second or third day, because having done it, for 20, 25 minutes, which is normally about how long I tend to do it for. That's not an alarm set. That's just me doing it and feeling into it and feeling when it's appropriate for me to come out of it. If I then try and sit and do it the next day, it almost feels forced. It feels like I don't need to do this. It's like a carryover from yesterday's experience is still there, and I don't feel that need. Whereas with exercise at the moment, I feel I need to be
hitting it.
Yeah, well, not even hitting it hard, but just doing something every day, something structured, something intentional, more than just doing some basic stretching and mobility and, prehab or rehab work at home. It's actually get out, go for, it's great now because, the weather's good, so go for a run. Go and, just do some bodyweight stuff outside or indoors, or go to the gym. And that's great. It's actually quite hard to try and manage my body through that process. I've had to really think a lot about how to break those workouts down. But also, it's been liberating because I've not been fearful of, I did pull-ups yesterday, so I can't do pull-ups again today. And you just think, well, why not?
Can't do pull-ups.
Well, exactly. Like this weird, trained mechanism in my brain that says, well, no, you've got to rest and recover. It's like, yeah, but I don't want to rest and recover. I want to do it. And all right, I won't do pull-ups tomorrow, but 2 days in a row, I can do that. And I'll mix it up and I'll do reps versus loaded, and make it a bit more variable, so the intensity and the stress is slightly different in my body, but ultimately it's still a pull-up, and I can do that. So that's working well for me at the moment, whereas meditation isn't something I feel the need to do every single day. I'm feeling very clear, very calm,
You're pretty zen on the tube as it is.
Exactly, yeah. So yeah, that's the way it's worked out for me right now, but that may come to change. It may completely reverse on that, and all of a sudden meditation, I can almost predict that as soon as I get back to the UK and I'm out of this, wonderful, almost holiday-esque mode, that I'm probably going to want to find time to do it every single day again. I'm going to feel the need to just check in that little bit more potentially. So it'd be interesting to see how that one turns out.
Yeah. Another thing, right? I know we haven't spoken as much about it as a trick. Well, we kind of have actually. Let's just forget that thought. But one crazy thing that I have done many a time through meditation is start lucid dreaming, and that's really exciting.
Okay.
And that, we won't go into it now, but lucid dreaming is basically like when you're completely awake in your dream, essentially, to put it like basic, and you can do all kinds of crazy shit then. But I've had moments where I've let myself kind of fold into thought, and then it's just happen naturally, and next thing you realize you've been sat for 20 minutes or something just dreaming, and that's a really profound experience, and worth even just try meditation just to give that a go.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, another fun reason to have a crack at it. Why not?
Yeah. I think people think meditation's a very boring thing, and it kind of is, but I think my approach to it kind of tries to avoid that bore and that kind of monotony in it, where it's like little challenges. I've got these little things I'm trying to do at every point. It's very intentional, And I think that's a good place to approach meditation from as well, is to know why you're doing it, or kind of have a process of approaching it, rather than just going, right, just focus on my breathing, because it can be quite difficult just to do that. Like if you kind of distract your mind a little bit more than just thinking or just noticing something, then it can take up more of your attention and help you to focus in your meditation as well.
Yeah, very true. And things that can feel boring and unnecessary, or a lot of the time feel that way because you can't perceive the benefit. You can't really know, apart from someone telling you what the benefit of that thing is, particularly in this case of meditation. Someone says meditation is great for you, you should do it, and you think, well, in your mind, well, it's just sitting on the floor and breathing with my eyes closed. That's really boring to me. Yeah, okay, but if you look at it with that very superficial view, then of course, yeah, it's going to be boring. Eating is technically boring if you look at just food boring on a plate. But if you look at food, if you just look at food on a plate and you've never tasted that food before,
it's just sustenance.
You don't know how good it tastes. You just look at it and go, well, I'm hungry. That looks edible, I'll eat it. And all of a sudden, but that can seem like a chore if you'd rather be doing other things. If all of a sudden you'd rather be out playing, football in the park, or, watching something at the cinema, then that might seem like a mundane task. But we know, because we've been conditioned over our lifetime to understand how good food can feel in terms of its satiating effect, and obviously the taste of it as well. So you have to try it before you dismiss it as being boring. But equally, as we've been saying all along, you have to find your own entry point to that. So yeah, of course, sitting on the floor with your eyes closed, just focusing on your breath, may just seem that there's just going to be no real entertainment, and it's not really about entertainment, but there's going to be no real feel of benefit to it for you. However, if you just, while you're out having a daily walk, for example, you maybe just stop to check in on your breathing every now and then, just some intentional breathing, 10 deep breaths. Just stop, stand with your eyes closed, or continue the walk if you want with your eyes open, obviously, and just bring yourself back into your body.
Send us a selfie.
You can try it. It wouldn't be boring then, would it?
No.
Please don't do that. Disclaimer: do not. Nothing we say on the show is highly recommended.
Say disclaimer: we don't recommend doing it.
We do not recommend. Yes.
If you try it, email me at rhysmorgan@morethanlifting.com. I'd love to hear about your adventures of eyes closed walking around the park.
Results. Results are not consistent. So
week 4.
It's one of those things you have to find out about for yourself, and start at a point where you think it's okay. Even something as simple as something that a lot of people I think say they should do more of is just reading, finding time to read a good book, something that they can really lose themselves in. And, even doing that just before you go to bed, it can be a great way of winding down for sleep, but it can actually be a meditative exercise because you're focusing on one thing. You're very intently drawn into something and not thinking about everything else you've done that day or that you've got to do tomorrow and all the other stressful things that, tend to occupy your mind before you go to bed and cause disruption to sleep and so on and so forth. So you can find a very low entry point for you if you really, really want to. And then the key thing from that point is then just feel into that benefit and how that makes you feel. Does that make you feel calmer? Does it make you feel more attuned and connected to yourself? Does it just make you feel a little bit more masterful in terms of your thought processes? Then you can try and take it up to the next level, step it up to something else. Get an app like Headspace, for example, or Calm. There's a number of different mindfulness and meditation-based apps out there. Find something that will just help you build that habit very slowly, very incrementally, and very simply into your day-to-day practice. And, you could be amazed at all of a sudden how, fun and beneficial it is versus what you perceive to be an otherwise boring exercise. So it's definitely worth having a go. That's all I'm saying. But do it on your terms.
It's worth having a go.
Yeah. Give it a punt.
40 minutes to say try meditation.
Exactly. On that note, shall we tie this one off?
Yeah, I think we probably should, guys. Oh, one quick thing before... Oh, no, actually, we'll save that for another episode on meditation. Come in soon to a cinema near you. Yeah, so wrapping it up. Rock, paper, scissors to the finish then, Chris?
Indeed.
All right, after 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, rock.
Scissors.
Oh, done ya first time. Bada man shotter. Don't mess around with my rock, paper, scissors techniques. Cool. Right, so that's another one on the tally for me. Chris, you're falling behind. Don't forget, on the 25th episode, we'll be revealing the scores. I need to go and check them. Right.
I think you're winning.
I think I am as well. Right, guys, that's it for this week. If you like what you've heard, give us a subscribe, give us a bit of love, rate and review, 5-star ratings only, obviously, because we're so bloody good to you. And an honest 5-star rating and review. I love it when people say that in podcasts. It's like genius NLP techniques. Yeah. Check us out on the socials as well. Christopher Thatcher, Coach Thatch most places, and ChristopherThatcher.com. I'm just morethanlifting.com. More Than Lifting on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. We got a Facebook page. Check that out. And yep. What else is there, Chris? Oh yeah, if you want to get started with calisthenics training, check out the 28-day transformation program. It's for beginners, getting into it. Gonna get you sexy for the summer. It's a 28-day workout blitz, and I'm not kidding when I say blitz. It's pretty keen. That's about it. Otherwise, 100 push-up challenge. Check that out as well.
Awesome.
Because that's cool.
It is indeed.
Chris, you got anything you want to tell the listeners about quick?
No, I think I'm all good for the time being. I am, if anyone's interested, actually, I'm currently undertaking a 30-day podcast challenge with my other show, Fit for Purpose, where I'm releasing an episode every. Not a better show, just a different show, slightly different angle, and you're not allowed anywhere near it, so that kind of keeps it a little bit cleaner.
Yeah. So.
No, actually, to be fair, you've been on it twice now, and
you are still. I just sit in the corner and don't say much.
No, you are still two of our most popular episodes. Actually, you're one of the few people I've actually had on twice. So, you are a distinguished guest on Fit for Purpose. But anyway, I'm doing a 30-day podcast challenge where I'm releasing an episode every single day, a combination of solo topic-based shows and conversation pieces all around everything from movement to nourishment to mindfulness to building your own best health practice, all the kind of juicy, fun, enjoyable stuff that I love chatting endlessly about, and no doubt probably witter on about a bit too much about on here sometimes as well. But hey, that's me, and I enjoy sharing this stuff, and hopefully at some level you enjoy listening to it as well. But anyway, come over to Fit for Purpose, have a listen, new episode every single day. Hopefully it doesn't drive you mad. They're pretty bite-sized, most of them, majority being about 10 or 15 minutes in length, just to make it a nice, easily digestible portion for you every single day, rather than kind of throwing the whole kitchen sink at you. And a few, as I said, conversation pieces with inspiring individuals. Mr. Morgan may even appear if he behaves himself. So come over to Fit for Purpose. No, definitely not. But come over to Fit for Purpose. No, definitely not. Come over to Fit for Purpose, have a listen, and then by all means, if you enjoy it, subscribe, rate, review, share the love, and let me know if you like what you heard, and if you'd like to hear anything different as well. It's all good. Yeah.
So check out Chris's juicy witterings on the Fit for Purpose podcast.
Juicy witterings. I like that.
They were two of your adjectives. One adjective and one adverb that you use. I just threaded them together.
Oh, well done. Okay. Well, I'll remember to use that again in the future. Anyway, shall we tie this one up for the day?
Proper rambling on.
Yep,
have a good one, guys. Catch up with you next week. Love, 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 and keep in touch with yourself.
See ya.